Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Rolling Out. I'm Rashad Milligan. Today we are joined by a very, very special day as we have Peace and Purpose mixed with a little Meet the Author. We have one of the hottest podcasters in the world right now. We have Mr. Tim Ross. Tim, how you doing?
I'm
Hey!
good, bro. Grateful to be with you, man. Thank you.
And he's for those of you who don't know, other than Tim Ross's insanely popular podcast, The Basement. We have he has his book, Welcome to the Basement, upcoming Best Dweller. See how I did? Come on now, come on, hey, a Best Dweller coming out in what was that, February, at the end of February, correct?
Yes,
And
sir.
the forward is by fellow pastor and author Mike Todd. Tim, I guess just overall with this with this book, you said it's pretty much like the Basement podcast in book form, because some people, they can learn better through books. They can highlight and they can take notes and they can keep up. um how exactly are you kind of transforming the Basement podcast into book form? What can people expect with this?
So, what I'm excited about in this book, Rashad, is giving people the opportunity to have the basement in their hands, to be able to go line for line, word for word, and really process and digest what this philosophy is all about, because that's what the basement is. The basement is a philosophy. It's a state of mind, it's a way of living. And so this book is going to take you chapter by chapter so that you can have those principles and be able to walk them out.
And in the beginning of it, I don't want to give too much away, but in the intro, I did see a little bit of the intro, and you were talking about how you wanted people to kind of forget your last book. Like you stand on everything you said, but like forget it altogether.
Yeah.
Like we're going from the Welcome to the Basement forward. Why did you say that? Why?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So the reason why Upset the World is a a part of the whole basement philosophy. You don't have one without the other. But when I launched Upset the World, I never knew the basement was supposed to be a public philosophy that I was supposed to give the world. I thought it was just who I was supposed to give to my mentees, who I was supposed to give to those that I was discipling privately. I never knew he wanted me to give this philosophy publicly. So Upset the World and the Basement integrated together, that's the full revelation.
Okay, okay, all right, all right. And now I kind of want to ask you a little more about your career and things of that nature. So, uh, you stepped down from embassy, from the senior pastor role at the end of 2022 to focus on the podcast and going full time with the podcast. I remember in one of your recent podcasts, you said that you guys had a goal of, it would be neat to have 3,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. You guys are now standing at about 350,000 at the time we're recording this. I just want to ask you, like, what exactly, like, was the timing of that goal that you guys planted that out, and then when was the first moment you all really went viral?
Yeah, so that was not planned. None of that was planned. We literally I was so shocked that after 3.5 weeks we had 25,000 subscribers. So when you think you're gonna have 3,000 in 18 months and you wind up with 25,000 in 3.5 weeks, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I had people calling me like, "What's your marketing?" And you guys are geniuses. And I was like, I promise you, we're not. We're just trying to be obedient to what we feel like we're supposed to be doing, right? So I think the first thing that went viral was a clip that I said on marriage. Like I was just talking about marriage is work. And bro, Beyonce's mama, Mrs. Tina Knowles, um, she put out that clip and it was a wrap. So that was one. That was the first of what has been many clips that have gone viral, but that was the very first one, and it was talking about traditional marriage being work.
No, no, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. Shout out to Miss Tina, man, and
Yeah, for sure.
the whole Knowles family, man. But okay, all right. So stepping down from your senior pastor role and kind of like becoming a full time pastor. I mean, full time podcaster, excuse me. But still, still giving sermons every now and again. I guess, what is the difference in preparation of doing a podcast versus preparing a sermon?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Rashad. So, sermon prep is about giving this shotgun blast, right? In my head, I'm trying to speak from the back row, back all the way up to the front. So this has got to be a 30 to 40 minute message for me that has enough for the first four rows who are super churchy, and the cat on the back row that's like scrolling through Instagram, like, man, when is this over? I just came with my family. You know what I mean? I'm trying to date this girl. She came to church. I'm hoping to hook up with her later. You know what I mean? So that preparation is different from sitting down, holding space with a person where I can have a pod. Our longest pod is 4 hours and 6 minutes. So to be able to like process thought, to be able to answer questions, something that you don't get to do when you preach a sermon. A sermon is a monologue. You know what I mean? It's not a discussion. It's not a conversation. So to be able to sit down and to like wrestle through certain things that people might have questions about, I love that space more. I thrive in that space.
No, you're talking about your longest pod is 4 hours. I believe you gave like Ruslan like had to be 3 hours because you guys did like maybe 2 hours on the regular pod and then another hour on Patreon. And then like I think you guys even stayed a little longer. So like it's not just your podcast. You're doing these 4 hour discussions on this other people's podcast and things of that nature. You don't hold your tongue, man. You don't hold your tongue. You keep it real. And I think that's the reason why the podcast has become so popular. You guys like the theme of the podcast is unfiltered and real conversations, based, faith based and stuff like that. I want to ask you, like, are you ever nervous? Like when you, example, when you called out men with ED, and you're like, husbands, there's a reason your wife, y'all got ED, y'all not doing what y'all need. Like, do you ever get nervous before you say something like that on a public platform?
No,
Why
here's
not?
here's the thing. I'm never nervous in the moment, and because I think the reason why I'm not is because I really do speak from a place of conviction. I don't speak from a flippant place, right? I'm not 25 years old, full of energy with a sparkle in my eye that's like, yo, the world is crazy and I need to I got new ideas. That the young speak like that, right? I'm 48. I'm two clicks from 50 years old. And so there's a groundedness and a soberness um, from which I speak. I get nervous when the clips go out. So in the moment, Rashad, I ain't ever nervous. Uh, but when those clips, because I don't control when the clips go out and what clips are chosen. Um, my team is great. I don't micromanage them. I have a great team around me. So they'll put out certain clips, and I'm like, oh God, that 90 seconds is going to hit different than if somebody's listening to the whole pod. But my thought is, you know what? I am not just a content creator, I'm a conversation creator. So whether you agree or disagree, let's have a conversation.
100%, 100%. And I feel like you
Yeah.
gave me the perfect segue. I didn't know when I was going to ask this, but I feel like you threw up the lob. So I just got to, you know what I'm saying? I got to do what I got to do now. Uh, Jesus is the best stripper. Like that comment that you said. It first started off with the sermon, a whole hour sermon, 30-second, 50-second clip on YouTube, and social media went crazy. Then you doubled down on it. Then you tripled down on it. So I guess why did you compare Jesus to a stripper?
Yeah. So everybody, I can't now. That's a viral moment that I'm like, really, y'all. But the context of it is what I mean when I say that is that Jesus took off his glory to put on humanity and to live amongst us. He is fully God and fully man, Emmanuel with us. then he is stripped of human dignity, butt naked, and he is nailed to a tree. The Roman soldiers cast their lots in front of him and really gamble for his robes. And so Jesus stripped himself twice, first of glory, and then voluntarily allows him to be stripped so that he can die on the cross for our sins. I'm communicating to people that really have an understanding of strip culture who the preeminent stripper is. So I know the audience I'm speaking to, but I also understand that I know that there's a broader audience listening. Many took offense, and that was not the intention of those statements. However, I could not apologize in good conscience for something that I actually believe. And I just feel like so many people in the church world, they just can't handle tension with people that disagree with them. And so few people try to vilify me or say I was a false teacher or whatever, but that's an opinion and they can have it.
No,
Yeah.
100%. I feel like that's something that Pastor Mike Todd deals with a lot too when he's trying to come up. He comes from a creative background, so when he presents those ideas in a creative way, it can go viral out of context, and then people are like, "Why do you got already mega pastors, internet, social media?" And you have that entire thing and stuff like that. I guess kind of moving forward, you've had a lot of dynamic guests on the pod. From Lecrae when you guys were talking about like your background in battle rap and things of that nature. I feel like you were talking about that with Ruslan as well as a former hip hop artist. Jackie Hill Perry, B Simone, who's down here in Atlanta, very far in her walk with at Darius Daniels Church, Change Church down here in Atlanta. Who was like one guest or one moment that really surprised you, or you like, oh man, like this person's growth, this person's journey, I can see it like firsthand, and it's very surprising to me.
Yeah, so the first person that comes to mind is Dante Bowe. Because in my convo with Dante Bowe, I'm doing this pod now, and I'm actually surprised by the people that are saying, "Yes, I'll come on your pod." I'm like, "You will?" We were shooting our shot in the dark. Um, so I didn't understand at the time how much influence the basement was gaining, and when Dante came, whom I've known since he was legit a teenager, but we haven't been close throughout the years. When he came and sat down, he was in full artist mode, right? Looked great, dressed to the nines, and by the end of the interview, his leg up was like this on my couch, and he was so comfortable, Rashad. And what I realized is that wow, we have created a space safe enough for someone like Dante, who's going through a lot of public scrutiny at a very young age, to feel like, man, I'm safe here. I can tell my truth as I've been experiencing it here, and I will be seen, heard, known, and still loved. And that's what
100%.
we're trying to do in the basement. I'm not trying to do a gotcha podcast. I'm not trying to be like, hey, now that I got you here, let's talk about that Instagram video you put out. And why were you listening to Bad Bunny? It wasn't even in my mind. Right? I would rather have context on how a person came to be than to judge them by the last thing they've done.
No, 100%, 100%. With that being said, of someone like Dante being so comfortable and like you being surprised that he'd agree to come on your platform. One of the I guess the hottest voices in podcast guests or just like controversial people period right now is Charleston White. Would you be open to having Charleston White on the basement? Why and why not?
Absolutely. I would welcome that in a minute. There's literally no one I won't sit down with.
I forgot that's Texas too. I just connected those dots. That this is someone
Is
from
he in
Texas.
Texas?
Yeah, he's based in Dallas.
I did not know he was in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then it might be even easier.
That
I'm gonna
that
shoot
would
my
be
shot.
that would be something. That would be something for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just moving along now. How did you become to be? Like you said, like you want to talk about people when they come in your pod of how they came to be. Like how did you come to be from, being in ministry in the 90s, kind of going through battle rap and being a rapper, a clean rapper and stuff like that. And then moving now into, ministry, becoming a prominent minister, online, social media, taking you to another level, and then now podcasting where you're in this whole nother lane and a whole nother demographic knows you now.
Absolutely. So my childhood dream was to work in law enforcement. My mother worked for the LAPD for 30 years. I actually went to college and studied administration of justice because I wanted to be a homicide detective. I achieved reserve level 2 status, which allowed within the Justice Department, that allowed, not the Justice Department, but within the law enforcement um, parameters, so that I could ride along with any law enforcement official if I wanted to, because I had the credentials for it. Um, I signed up to join the LAPD at 20 and a half, and I failed my psych. I got all the way to the end. In between filling out that first application and 7 steps later, I had given my life to Jesus. So when it's time to take the psych, Rashad, the unwritten rule is that you don't lie, but you don't elaborate. And so I had given my life to Jesus, and I've been an open book my whole life. So I told that evaluator way too much, and she was like, "Nah, fam, you ain't getting up in here." So I was depressed behind that. The door closed, but people kept asking me to speak for their churches. And you got to understand, I got saved in a church that morning, January 14th of 96. There was 47 people in that church, including me. And I gave my life to Jesus, and it's been 28 years, bro. 28 years, and I can't even imagine. I never wanted to be a preacher. I never thought I would have this type of profile, and I never thought I'd be in a season at 48 where I'm already done with preaching in churches, and my primary thing is podcasting. I did not see that coming, fam.
I want to get into it too. This is something that you touch on and that you're blunt with as well. For Christians, in this digital age, in this online space, I feel like there's so many loopholes. Whether it's the algorithm on the TikToks, kind of like the gateways. It could be gateways, Instagram Explore page or whatever. Especially, I'm speaking particularly for males. If they go on, they see one thirst trap, and they're like, oh, and then they might not even like it. They might not even follow the person, but the algorithm, you looked at that picture 5 seconds before you kept scrolling. Then the explore pages, all that. And then you go to somewhere else on the internet. And then you go somewhere, and it's a whole for downfall for the young Christian males and women who are dealing with lustful kind of thoughts or the lustful struggle online. Especially with your platform being online now. What are some I don't know if you would say tips or anything like that could help them, a word for them this year in
Oh, for
2024.
sure. Um, Whack-a-mole, bro. Like the Instagram Explorer page only gives me butterflies and basketball clips, because it took me about, it's probably 2.5 months to break the rhythm, the algorithm. I literally, anything I saw that I felt like I was attracted to, without tapping and opening it, I just put my thumb on it, raised it up, not interested. It, and you do that for about 2.5 months, and the algorithm starts switching up. It'll keep feeding to you at first, like, you sure you don't want to see another booty pic? And I'm like, I promise you I don't. Like, because low key, on a weekday, I might want to. So I have to keep on reiterating, I'm not interested in this type of content. And then I only like the content that I only like. And it literally changes the algorithm. But you gotta progressively do it. You gotta be diligent. For the people that's too weak to even see a thing because it's too much of an instant trigger, you got to be deliberate on, like, even when you're going to look at social media. Like, I'm not going to look at this before I go to bed, or I will only do this when I'm in the presence of other people. I'm not going to have my screen turned all the way down where I can jump in and out. You know, now I have restrictions on my phone, bro. Literally at 7 p.m. every day, all of my social media apps close down and don't open back up until the next day at 7 a.m. I can bypass that or override that, but I discipline myself to do that. Do you know I knocked three? I'm ashamed to say it, but I got to keep it a buck. I I knocked down my overall watch time, screen time on iPhone by 3 hours.
And you're somebody that does content creation, because I think, a lot of times, I would say, even for me, with content creation, since I use kind of content creation for my job and everything like that, I kind of use that as an excuse for why my screen time is so high. It's like, well, I
That's
have to
right.
be in and out. I have to know what is going on to write the story, to do my research on Tim Ross before I interview. Like, these are the excuses I
Yep.
can use. So for you to be one of the top podcasters to say, no, I still have a shutdown time and I've cut my screen time down by 3 hours. I think that's huge, and I applaud you for that. Also, telling the people, put down the phone, just period, and pick up Welcome to the Bake. Come on, man.
Exactly.
But I definitely agree with you on that. Like my screen time. Oops, we are running out of time. My screen time now. My explore page is all food videos, basketball clips, and like little kids like hitting them folks. Like that's like
I
that's all
love
it
it,
is now.
bro.
And like
Yeah.
you said, it took that. You had to, okay. All right, if the algorithm's gonna feed me that, I have to make the conscious decision to do this and that. Tim, Pastor Tim Ross. I have one more question. We are out of time, but I do have one more question, and we could get this out real quick. 2024, you said the first clip to really make you guys go viral was a dating clip. 2024 dating. There's so many people with podcast microphones who just make dating seem like the worst thing possible. For all the singles out there in 2024 dating right now, what is your word of encouragement and advice for them?
You can find love. Don't be cynical. Don't let this world feed you this negative narrative that every woman is a gold digger, every man cheats. Listen, anybody you get with is going to have baggage. Everybody, 100% of everybody that you potentially date is crazy. You date the crazy that you can handle. You marry the crazy that you can live with. So in a world that's telling you be polyamorous, be bi, try, die, like all this different stuff, I just want to encourage you. There's hope. If you're looking for a mate and you have a standard, there is a 100% chance of you finding that type of person. If you are patient, if you use discretion, and if you have hope. I just never want to be that cynical that I just believe that there's nobody out there for me. There's no hope for me. Everybody in the world is crazy. All of humanity is broken. That part is true, but there's a lot of good in people. Yeah.
Well, Tim, I appreciate the time so much. Tim Ross, everybody in the building. Make sure you guys subscribe and listen to the Basement Podcast on all places you can watch or listen to podcasts. Get the B-Side app. Make sure you support the man. Subscribe on the B-Side app as well. Welcome to the Basement. The book is set to release on February 27th. I have the date now. Forward by Pastor Mike Todd. And Tim, we appreciate the time so much. Thank you for the positive words.
Grateful. Thank you so much, Rashad. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
No problem. And until next time, I'm Rashad Milligan for Rolling Out. Take care of yourselves.